You doing okay in there, boy?
Fuck. What'd you say?
Dad, no.
Huh? Hey, Dad. Hey, no, son. Huh?
Shut your fucking mouth. Shut your fucking mouth!
Hey, come on. Dad, just...
You doing okay in there, Boyd? From Season 3, Episode 9, today we are discussing and recapping the episode as we do every Monday. Please keep in mind there are spoilers ahead, so if you're not all caught up, save this video and come back later. We're going to switch it up and we're going to start with the end of the episode because we got one of the biggest answers that we've been wondering about for the whole season revealed to us. Tabitha is officially confirmed to be a reincarnation of Miranda. I know that there are a lot of people saying that she is Eloise after this episode, but that is not the case because she was not remembering Eloise's memories. She was remembering her own memories in the past life as Victor's mother. That is clear by all the things that we have seen in this entire season of Tabitha, from going to Victor's childhood home, to meeting Henry, to coming back to Fromville and following in the footsteps of Miranda, and what Miranda was supposed to do from what the boy in white told Christopher to do, that Victor told his mother needed to be done. The reason I'm so certain that Tabitha is Miranda is not only because she went full circle to Victor's home, found the bracelet in the glove compartment, and many other things that I could list right now that I'm not going to, that I've stated in previous videos. She goes into the cellar. That is the third instance of deja vu she has in this episode. And even in the previous episode, when Jade is telling her, you know, you were always destined to come to this place, maybe fate, it's your fate to come to Fromville, it was also Miranda's fate. The reason that I'm believing this is because we did not see Eloise's point of view and her memories after she hugged Victor. We saw Victor's mother's memories. And Tabitha was saying, no, this is impossible, this is impossible. And that is because she was remembering her last moments as Miranda. And at the final moment of the episode, the camera work goes crazy, and you can see Tabitha trying to process the memories from her past life merging with her current life self. And it's pretty wild. I don't know how people could have that go over their heads and think that she was Eloise still after this very well confirmed that she was reliving Miranda's memories, because Eloise would not know what happened to her mother so vividly. If there were the case that she were Eloise, she would be remembering what happened when Eloise left the cellar. And I'm thinking still in my theory that Acosta has something to do with Eloise. I'm going to skip to Jade for a second because I've been saying for a long time that Jade must be a reincarnation of Christopher, just like Tabitha must be a reincarnation of Miranda. And now that we know that that is true, that she is Miranda, and hopefully there is more added to it in the next episode that explains further why this happened to her and why she is a reincarnation. It is very clear after this episode that the boy in white was always playing Jasper. The only time we've actually seen Jasper yelling and screaming has been at Jade. Who does Jade always see? And who does Jade's footsteps follow? Christopher. Jasper is on the roof yelling at Jade while Jade is putting up the new bottles on his bottle tree behind the bar. We just had heard the boy in white telling Victor that Christopher did not listen. He wanted these current characters to figure it out on their own instead of just giving them the answers the way he did Christopher, because Christopher did not believe. And so since the boy in white knows possibly that Jade is a reincarnation of Christopher and how ego-driven Jade is, like Jim pointed out last week, it makes sense that he's always yelling at him through Jasper, because he knows you're going to do the same thing that Christopher did. You're not going to listen to me, so I'm not going to talk to you. I'm just going to keep scaring you and yelling at you. And this brings us to the boy in white. And may I mention before we start with the boy in white, it's pretty strange that Smiley ran after Miranda when this whole time, this whole series, he did not think the monsters could or wanted to run. The fact that Smiley ran after her, I think, meant that he knew she was getting close to setting everyone free, had to stop her so that the evil side could win. The boy in white finds Victor with an axe trying to chop down the faraway bottle tree that helped Tabitha escape to the lighthouse. And so he tells Victor to stop because it's not going to bring anything good. And I think that makes sense, because if this is the way that everyone escapes one day, then it would be beneficial to not chop down that tree. So Victor asks him, why are you older? Why do you look different? And why have you changed? And the boy in white's like, everything's different. Everything has changed. And then explains that he's not going to easily give him the answers because of how Christopher reacted in the basement of the church all those years ago when he tried to help him. Victor's like, I'm your friend. And the boy in white's like, I'm your friend too. And Victor's like, help me then. Help me figure out what to do. And he's like, don't chop down that tree. And then just walks away. We'll get more into the boy in white, Miranda, Victor, Tabitha, Christopher, Eloise, everything with that in another video later this week. But right now we're going to be talking about Fatima. Episode starts off with Elgin explaining to her that the baby is helpful and that that was the reason when he found out about the baby, why he was able to remember his dream and the nursery rhyme that helped Boyd figure out how to get to the dungeon and set everyone free from the curse. And so Elgin really truly believes he's doing the right thing when I know he's not. And Fatima is like, let me go. He's like, you're not a prisoner, but she is. And so he says that you need to feed the baby, and the baby requires, to feed off of. And so within a couple of, like, not even a few hours of her drinking that from the jar, her belly has grown significantly, more than it has the entire season. It is presumable that Fatima is getting very close to giving birth, and I hope that happens before the end of the season and they don't drag it on. But I think she's ready to give birth at any moment. And I thought it was pretty interesting that Victor was right there in the cellar and yet could not hear Fatima screaming. What does this cellar door mean? Why is there a cellar door? Where does it lead to? Does it lead to the church? Where does it go to in town? Is it going to help her escape? She can't even open it. I really want to know what's going to happen to Fatima, but it is not looking good. Sarah tells Ellis and Boyd, you can't save her. This place is laughing at you, and they know you won't find her in time. But even if they did, clearly it seems like there is no saving Fatima. It's pretty sad because, as we learn in this episode, and as we've known if we've been paying attention the whole time, Fatima has always been the biggest hope and the brightest light inside Fromville. And it's like when Boyd tells Ellis about the Parkinsons, he also tells him, this place made me watch what happened to Tyne Chen. The monsters made me watch. This place is trying to break me. And they knew that if they took Fatima, then maybe this is my fault that this is happening to Fatima. And I think that that is the case, clearly, because Boyd has been making moves left and right for, the last 2 seasons. And I think that given the fact that Boyd and Donna are leaders that love and believe in Fatima, and Fatima is the brightest light of hope in this town, we even see Donna remembering Fatima's 1-year anniversary from the season 1 episode. And that was the same time that the Colony House attack happened. And it was so wild because that's kind of like the last moment of hope that everyone really had. Now, the fact that they're going to lose Fatima is really going to break not only Boyd and Donna and Ellis, but everyone. We also hear Elgin explain to Fatima that the reason that she did what she did to Tilly was because out of rage, the baby was angry that it was not being fed. The baby was upset. It has to be a supernatural kind of baby at this point because we did not see it on the ultrasound. I know that there are some people online that have been saying, oh, Fatima's turning into a vampire. I don't think you guys are watching the same show. There's no vampires in Fromville. It is very likely that she is going to have a ghost baby or something really creepy coming out of her soon, and I hope we get to see it this season. I really just feel so bad because it feels like these are the final moments that we're going to ever see Fatima. I just don't know what her intention was trying to cut him with that piece of metal from the bed. She knows she can't escape, and Elgin truly believes that he's doing something good to the point where he tries to convince Ellis very subtly about it too. Ellis, I feel like in the Brundles when they were walking and talking to Elgin, I really think with Ellis's facial expressions that he caught on to Elgin and he's going to catch him in just a few moments in the next episode. I really believe that. Elgin truly believes he's doing something good to help people. Elgin is not necessarily a bad person, but he is so easily fooled by this kimono woman, and I wish that he was friendlier with people like Sarah, because she could easily tell him, this place is not your friend. It's not actually trying to help you get out or do anything. There are certain characters that would really benefit from discussing things, but in this moment, Elgin is trying to hide from Ellis that he's the one that took Fatima, and I think he gave himself away. It made me really upset and disappointed in Elgin to see him lying to Ellis, and I really hope that he chooses to do the right thing in the end, even if what's about to happen to Fatima is still not preventable. As allowing Ellis and Boyd to spend Fatima's final moments together with her feels like the right thing to do. Back to Boyd for a moment. He finally comes clean to Ellis about his Parkinson's disease and how it is affecting him. And then Ellis finds out that Christy and Kenny have always known about Boyd's incoming illness. And it kind of, you can see, makes Ellis feel kind of betrayed that his dad didn't tell him, but his dad did not want him to worry. And that's, something that dads do. They protect their kids from the reality that they are soon to face. I also was kind of wondering why Kenny and Boyd would not go to the cellar immediately to check for Fatima, given the fact that they paired together to go in the search party in this episode. And they once, a while back, went to the cellar when Boyd saw the ballerina coming out of the cellar. I just don't know why Boyd would not connect that dot himself. Maybe he has too much on his mind, but that would have been the first place I looked. It's become very clear in this episode that Ellis is in the dark about a lot of things that actually go on because Boyd wants to protect him, and that's why when Sarah comes in to explain what the voices told her, Ellis is not having it. He still thinks the worst of Sarah, just like everyone else in Colony House in the town does. And he really does not know much about what Sarah experienced in previous seasons, and as Sarah tells us, this is the first time she's heard the voices since the ruins. And I felt bad for Sarah because she had just finally finished piecing together the snowman that her and her brother had from a long time ago, and as soon as she finishes piecing the snowman together, the voices come back all of a sudden. I really hope that we don't lose Boyd in the upcoming seasons. I am worried that we might, given everything that's going on right now, And it's really good to know that at least for now, Kenny will step in at some point, but for now he's going to be a deputy returning to help Boyd again. I'm going to get into Julie for a moment because I'm seeing a lot of people mad at her that she didn't tell Christy and Marielle in the infirmary what she saw in the dungeon last episode. I know that there's a good reason why. She doesn't want Marielle to worry. Marielle has been the most unaffected person of the three that were under the music box curse. So why would she want to give her worry when she knows that her fiance is injured and trying to help the town? It doesn't make sense for her to just divulge that information right away. But later on in the episode, she does come clean to her mother, explains that she saw her, or rather heard her and Victor in the tunnels. The diner is once again revived by Bacta, and just like Bacta promised a few episodes ago when the last town hall meeting happened to have Boyd's back, she did have his back in this moment. I hadn't seen anyone pointing out that Bacta did have Boyd's back like she promised, so I wanted to mention that here. I also want to mention I have a theory about the number 21 that was on the cash register behind Jim in this episode and what it has to do with spirituality and reincarnation. I'll bring up the number 21 in another video. We'll get into it in a different theory. But for now, we're going to talk about Donna for a second because Boyd comes to her and tells her that Fatima is not only missing, also that he's going to have to figure out how to get the town together. And Donna's just like, you know what, because of what Fatima means to me and what she means to the people in this town, we can't tell them. And I think that that is honestly the true case because she knows that Fatima is the last remaining hope that everyone in this town has. It also really hurt to see Boyd and Donna lying to the town, even though it's for the greater good. At this point, there's a lot of characters in the background that don't know all the supernatural stuff going on, and I think it is important mostly for them to find Fatima, so maybe everyone can see just how wild things will get. Acosta is paired up with Donna, and I know that there are a lot of people that are saying that she's Donna's niece and that she has some relation or ties to Donna because of how Donna looked at her when she came into Colony House for the first time. I don't think there's anything there. I do think, like I said earlier, Acosta has more to do with Eloise because that's why maybe we're not hearing what her first name is. For now, she basically is trying to have Donna explain to her what is going on and how Donna is so certain that Fatima, is doing these things or not doing these things. Donna's like, I don't have time to give you a tutorial on how this place works. We can talk once we find Fatima because of what she means to me. And Acosta's trying to prove that she's a good cop, and so she knows that Donna's a leader and Donna does not upset her the way Boyd does, so I think kind of just bit her tongue and was like, you know what? Yeah, we'll talk about it after. And I really hope that we get to see that talk in this season because if she is related or connected to Donna in any way, maybe that talk will reveal something that we've been wanting to know about Acosta. Let's cut back to Jade and Henry because I really liked this part of the episode where they were talking amongst each other trying to look for Fatima. Jade is so out of it and in his own world that he didn't even really realize that he needed to go to the town hall meeting. Henry is trying to explain to him, I'm concerned about my son. Remind me a lot of him with the way you act about seeing things and how you're going crazy over these drawings and these bottles, just like he is over the puppet. Jade makes a really good analogy saying that Victor is Tarzan. All he is a byproduct of the last 40 years stuck in Frumville, and you're the person trying to come in and tell him that he should feel bad for not knowing how to use a fork. I truly just keep falling in love with Jade over and over again because his analogies, his way of thinking is truly wonderful. Henry himself is kind of trying to figure out where and how to be a father to Victor in a place like this. And I'm really hoping that nothing bad happens to Henry because Jade just left him there alone and tries to get Jade to talk to him. He tries to get him to understand, what are you seeing? Why do you keep seeing this? Will you tell me what you're seeing? And he just doesn't want to talk to him. Jim got a lot of character development in this episode, more than usual. I don't know, but it feels like they're kind of setting up this redemption with Jim for a reason. And it really feels that he's finally being a good father because of what Henry told him. And I'm really happy about that. But at the same time, it kind of feels like it's too late. And the red flag that I got was the boy on the radio saying that he was Thomas again in the RV. I just feel like something is coming for Jim because Jim is experiencing supernatural things for no reason when he's been so doubtful of everything going on. It was pretty strange that Clara was the first one to run to help Victor. It's just kind of was trying to console him. It was pretty interesting to see that Clara popped up for the first time in a couple weeks. And, at this point, I'm kind of wondering, is she Christopher's daughter come back to Frumville? Is she Eloise? I really think something's going on with Clara that we're going to find out very soon, but who knows? After this week's episode, I'm feeling like Tabitha looks right here. I just truly am baffled, and I am amazed and also really happy that some of the theories were confirmed in this episode. I hope that they do explain further into it, but now we know that the boy in white did not mean to push Tabitha for any bad reasons off the lighthouse. he meant to push her because he said this is the only way. Just like he tells Victor in this episode, you had to learn for yourselves this time. I can't tell you the answers. This is the only way. That's what the boy in white was trying to say the whole time. Final thing I'll say about her not being Eloise is that Victor was down there with her and Sarah and explained the story because Tabitha had been mothering him and nurturing him the way a mother would to her son when he's stressed out and trying to get the words to explain something in the last episode. They've developed this mother-son bond over the last season that has become very, very clear. And the parallel here is just like Victor went and told his mother, Miranda, about the story about what the boy in white told Christopher, the same thing is happening at the same moment in the church basement. Victor is remembering the story and telling Tabitha, who we now know is a reincarnation relation to his mother. Not only is the fact that she's there listening to the story just the way Miranda listened to Victor's story, but when she is running out of the cellar, she tells Julie, do not touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me. But then she lets Victor hold her hand for a second because she remembers that she hasn't seen her son in 40 years. I do think it's Tabitha remembering her last life as Miranda. And one thing I'll say before I go is, when Tabitha tells us about her dream as a child, if you look online, most kids between the ages of 2 and 8 years old often remember their past lives more vividly than any adult does. I don't think that necessarily she was remembering her own childhood memory of the Red Rocks. I don't think she was remembering Miranda's childhood memory of the Red Rocks. I think she was remembering one of the previous reincarnations' childhood in the Red Rocks because in that time frame, her clothing looked very Victorian, like 1800s. And we know that the 1800s is one of the cycles on the wall in the lighthouse that Tabitha saw in her dream in season 1 or 2. Now, we know that it could be that that dream was not her memory or Miranda's memory. It was a dream from a previous reincarnation's lifetime. Thank you guys for joining me today. We have one more episode left of this season, and we're going to do a big recap and live stream next week. I will see you then. Thanks for watching.
You can't do that.
The bad tree does bad things.
It's important.